Hey, everybody. It's Mark Young and Justin Gerard here for another episode of CPG Insiders. Justin, we're going to I've been thinking about this show and I've been eager to get this show done because this is a show that people need to hear. And not everybody, but a lot of people.
Interesting.
What is the number one thing that people call and ask you at our agency? New people, not our current clients, but people that aren't clients that just call in and they're looking for help. What's the number one thing you hear?
Oh, without a doubt. How do I get into retail? That's it. Every time.
Exactly. But what is the biggest problem we have? The biggest problem we have right now is that retailers, because of SKU rationalization and all the different economizing that they're trying to go through,
Yeah,
it's harder than ever to get into brick and mortar.
it is. It is. It's extremely difficult.
And when I say harder than ever, it's harder than ever to get your first item into brick and mortar.
Yeah. Yes.
Or as in our industry, we refer to getting the vendor number.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that vendor number, getting item 2 and item 3 and item 4 is not so bad, but getting that first item is murder.
Right. Getting the second, third, or fourth item, that comes down to strategically understanding how your performance has been and what's going to be best for your business and the retailer. It's less about how can I get this in. It's more about what's the best way to do so.
So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about what is the fast track? What's the fast track to get your first item into major retail?
Okay.
Now, first off, let's cover why you should want to get in major retail. In the CPG industry, consumer packaged goods, the things you buy at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Kroger, and yada, 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 on average, 80% of all those items are sold out of a brick and mortar store.
Yes.
20% of the industry is Amazon, Walmart.com, Shopify sites, millions of them everywhere.
Yep.
And most of the business is Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
They're the bulk of the business. And Amazon is a major retailer, and Amazon is doing an amazing job, and you can't ignore Amazon. But you also need to think of Amazon as one of the major retailers that I need my brand in.
Yes. Yes.
It's not the place, it's one of the places.
Yes. And for all those brands trying to get into retail, and we talk about this too in a lot of our other shows and with a lot of our clients, understand that when you're starting your relationship with Amazon and you're moving through a relationship with Amazon, the great thing about what Amazon has done outside of, giving brands mass reach and another space to really drive revenue for themselves, it's giving you great experience of how a relationship with a retailer is. It's not everything because brick and mortar has its own challenges and its own differences, but you're getting a really good idea of what it's like.
Yeah, and brick and mortar is more complicated.
100%.
But there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. Let's say that you have a $5 million Amazon business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great business. And you're making money, and God love you, that's wonderful. You're still, at that point, you're a big fish playing in the little pond.
Right.
If you want to grow your brand past that, 80% of America is not a candidate for your product. Mm-hmm. The second issue is, and this is with no disrespect to the people at Amazon who run a great business, the Amazon environment is a predatory environment.
For brands, right.
Correct.
Yes.
And here's why it's predatory, folks. One, all of your data is available, just like it is in brick and mortar. So there are people who do nothing more than comb through helium-10 reports, look for brands that, hey, look at this thing. These guys are doing $2 million on this product. And the Chinese make it for half the price and throw it on Amazon and cut your legs out from under you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've got some really defendable IP, that can help. But it only helps for the brands that are actually trying to compete with a different brand. The second issue you have is 60% of all the products that are sold on Amazon are counterfeit. So, and you and I run into that all the time with our own clients.
Oh, yeah.
So they will produce the capsule. If it's a supplement, here's the capsule and here's the bottle and the packaging. The packaging is identical and they use the same box and they use your photographs in their Amazon listing. And they throw some fake address on it. And even when you chase them down, you're playing whack-a-mole because they pop up someplace else tomorrow.
Yeah, and that has gotten so out of hand that, I mean, it's impossible for Amazon to try to manage that at this point.
And it's dangerous because in the case of ingestibles and topicals, there's what's in it is not what the customer thinks they're getting.
Right.
So imagine, let's say somebody who, is celiac, gluten intolerant, taking a gluten-free supplement and finding out they just took a capsule full of white flour.
Yeah, that would not be a great day.
Or, other allergies.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even take the risk out of things like fentanyl and stuff being dumped into these things.
Right.
Now, there's another risk to Amazon. The other risk to Amazon is if you get an item that's really doing big numbers, Amazon themselves will knock you off with their Amazon brand. And the tough side there is you've built up a $5 million business. You've got the buy box. You're doing everything right. Amazon makes a copy. They just take the buy box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's their platform. They can just toss you out and take the buy box.
Right. And as we've talked about before, right, that happens in major retail too.
Absolutely.
But the difference is when you're talking about major retailer and they decided to, create a private label version of your product, one, you have the opportunity to at least be the manufacturer of it. So there's some revenue coming to you from a business perspective. And two, now you're talking about trying to dominate at shelf. So yes, they're going to be cheaper than you as a price, but you can still leverage great marketing, great advertising to still drive sell-through of your product at shelf. So they go there looking just for you. Versus Amazon, when they own the buy box, you're basically dead.
Yeah, because at retail, you're at least side by side with the knockoff.
Right.
At Amazon, if I own the buy box and I'm on my phone, I only see that.
Exactly.
And then you also have to keep in mind in Amazon, people don't buy brands on Amazon.
Nope.
People buy outcomes on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't go to Amazon looking for a particular product by name. I go to Amazon looking for the generic name of what I'm looking for. So I don't go there and type in Crest 3D white toothpaste. I type in toothpaste.
Right. I'm looking for the product that solves my problem at the cheapest price with enough reviews that I feel confident that it's going to do what I want to do. As soon as I've gotten those three things, done.
And Amazon's not a brand building platform. The last thing I want to say about Amazon, we're going to move on from there, is Amazon has kind of rigged the game to make it so Amazon gets most of the money.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to pay your Amazon fees, you got to pay your shipping fees, and now you've got to buy ads inside the Amazon ecosystem. And mysteriously, the cost of your ad campaign will just about be all of your margin in that product, won't it?
Mysteriously.
Is that not true, though?
It is very true. And especially in the beginning, right? When you talk about it, in the beginning, if you're just starting a brand and a product, you have to way overspend because you've got to try to create that momentum. And
you're not in the buy box.
Right. It's so hard. It's so difficult. And then you think about everything else Amazon's doing to try to help smaller suppliers, but it also drives more revenue, right? All the different supply chain solutions they've created, which are great for a lot of brands, it's more money in their pocket.
So where I'm going with all this is, if your brand is not rapidly growing, your brand is dying.
Yep.
There is no such thing as I have a $3 million Amazon business and I'm going to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
You either figure out how to grow it or you ride it out for the next 3 to 5 years and it goes away.
Yes. You have to continue to evolve.
You and I have had clients in the bedding industry, in the cake decorating industry, people who had millions and millions in sales, and now they can barely keep their head above water.
Yep. Yeah.
And all because of the knockoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They spend, when you get to that scale, they're spending more money trying to defend themselves than driving business.
And here's the secret: you will never be able to compete on price with a Chinese manufacturer who is knocking off your product and selling it directly out of the factory.
No, it's impossible.
Because they're making it for what you pay to make it or less. And remember, they had a margin when they sold it to you, when you hired them to make it. So now they literally have the ability to sell it for what they're selling it to you for, plus their Amazon costs. So you can't beat them.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
So it's a tough game. So if you have a great product, and if you want to have a long-term business, and if you want to build a brand, and if you want to build something that is either a big company or a company you can sell, you still have to play in brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
So now the problem is, how do you get in brick and mortar? Because brick and mortar is putting up as many roadblocks as they can to new vendors.
Well, yeah, they're protecting their margins. A lot of businesses are doing that now.
So the reason that it's tough to get into brick and mortar is, one, every category manager has to manage a portfolio of vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've determined is it takes as much energy to manage a vendor who has one item as it does to manage a vendor who has 100 items. Still got to have a relationship, still have to meet with them on a regular basis, still have to review the products. I still have to, deal with the reorders. I still have, so I have this relationship. So they figured out, if we can get fewer relationships and people that have more items, it streamlines our company.
Makes sense.
It does. There is a logic to it.
Yeah.
But the flip side is retail wants innovation, and they want the hot item. So here's the thing to keep in mind. Buyers are still people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like your consumer. They're not buying because I want a new hair dye. They're buying because I want to make money on a new hair dye. But when I say they're still human, they still fall victim of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
So what the buyer doesn't want to do is, the buyer doesn't want to find out that there's some hot item on the market and Target's killing it and I don't have it at Walmart.
Yep.
And Target's knocking out $5 million, a year in this thing, and we don't have it on the shelf.
Yeah.
So we have to play to that. Now, I want to talk about direct-to-consumer advertising.
Okay.
People used to say that the golden age of direct-to-consumer advertising started back in the 70s. 70s and the 80s were the golden age, and into the 90s. And I was there. And it was the golden age. And I'll tell you why it was the golden age. It was the golden age because media was easy and media was cheap. That's what made it the golden age.
Expand on that for a minute. For all of us young bucks who didn't experience it.
Here's why. We could buy 30-minute infomercials affordably. And you didn't have streaming services. So the reason it worked was we all bought up every piece of block of time we could buy Saturday and Sunday mornings. And here is the reason. You got up on Saturday morning and you made a cup of coffee and you sat in front of the TV and you picked up the remote controller and you started on channel 2 and you just started clicking north until you found something interesting. That's how you watch TV, because you didn't have Hulu and Paramount and Peacock, and you weren't binge watching anything.
Right. You didn't have social media, so you were glued to your phone and all that stuff.
Right. So it's not like, well, I'm binge watching Blue Bloods with
Right.
15 seasons.
Strap in.
Right. So every time I turn my TV on, I'm just going to turn on Blue Bloods because I've got 300 episodes to watch.
Right.
So you didn't binge watch anything. There was no DVR. There was no streaming services. It was the beginning of cable TV. So this is where we'd gone from having 3 channels to 6 channels. And then we went to like 150 channels. And you sat and you went click, 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 click. And this is why all those 30-minute infomercials that we all used to produce all had TV celebrities in them.
Get you to stop.
Because you would click, 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 click. Hey, that's Chuck Norris.
Right.
I love Chuck Norris. What's Chuck Norris doing?
Yeah.
I got you to stop clicking. And all of a sudden you say, that's Chuck Norris with Christy Brinkley.
Right.
Wow. So you watched a little bit further and you saw that Chuck Norris was working out with his Total Gym.
I remember those.
And you looked at that and you said, man, Chuck Norris can kick my ass and he's 30 years older than me. So I want to look at what he's working out with.
Yeah.
And Christy Brinkley's 50 years old and look at her.
I had a Total Gym.
They were a good little thing. I mean, kind of a body weight pulley thing. So that was kind of what we called the golden age, and the media was affordable and we could make it work. And then what we did with those things, we had 30-minute infomercials, and then we had what we call short form. Short form are 60 to 120 seconds.
Okay.
And we would do the lower priced items in the 60 to 120s. So back in those days, it was $20 or less was a 60 to a 120. Lead gen, 60 to 120. Big ticket item, 30-minute infomercial. So you didn't sell a Total Gym in 60 seconds. You sold a Total Gym in what was technically, long form infomercials are actually 28 and a half minutes long.
Yeah.
They're not 30. So this is how the world worked. Now, the way the game was played was those big ticket items we would sell on TV, we'd make money. The small ticket items, the $20 items, the $30 items, we would sell on TV until we could get them into retail. Now, let's fast forward to today. When you look at all great trends, why don't you think about this? All breakthrough trends that happen by a confluence of technologies.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about this.
So podcasting was almost dead until car companies started putting automatic Bluetooth in cars and people started buying smartphones. Then all of a sudden, podcasting became talk radio on demand.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Let's look at Facebook. Facebook wouldn't be Facebook if it wasn't for broadband cell phones with cameras. Same for Instagram. So when you look at any technologies that are trends, you find it's a confluence of 2 to 4 to 5 different technologies that all merged to make it happen.
Interesting.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, that is happening in direct-to-consumer, and I believe we are entering the new golden age of direct-to-consumer. And here's why. First off, big screen television, to all the people who think it's dead, is still the biggest thing in marketing. It is the thing that everybody's watching.
Yep.
And the average people have that TV on for 60 plus hours a week. So it is where people's eyeballs are going. It was in a decline pre-COVID.
Yeah.
COVID set the big screen on fire.
Yeah.
And that behavior hasn't changed. COVID, I mean, literally just completely reversed viewership of television.
Yep. Agreed.
So you are now watching that big screen. Okay. Now, That big screen has some advantages. It's big. You can put in big quality images, not little tiny thumbnails. It has enormous prestige because consumers, even though they do not trust what they see on the internet, they trust what they see on TV, because television's now been around my entire life, no matter how old you are.
Right.
It doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
You are everyone. Everybody is a television native. So we've come to trust television. And we know that when we watch TV, we see ads for Bayer and Pfizer and General Motors and Audi. And we trust these brands. These are huge companies. So there's this bias that's built in that if it's on my big screen, it's reliable.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on my big screen, it's something new, it's almost like, okay, wow, they've made it, right?
Yes.
There's something there.
And you're not competing with anybody else for the attention.
Right, because that's the only thing on that massive screen. You're not in a feed.
Right. I'm not scrolling the TV and seeing 15 ads.
Right.
So television has this great branding capability. Now, the other thing we know about television is the medium that drives people to brick and mortar. When we think about digital advertising, if you start advertising to me on my computer or my phone, I'm probably one click away from buying whatever it is you're pitching.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I have an Amazon Prime account. So I can click Amazon Prime, type in the name of it, and I'm one click away.
Right.
And I'm going to buy it at Amazon because I trust Amazon. I don't have to start another account. I don't have to get a credit card out. I don't have to do anything. Amazon will ship it to me right away. And if I'm not happy, I can ship it back.
Yeah, I mean, I can get it this afternoon a lot of times.
Yep. So Amazon has changed that game. But Amazon has changed another game. And the other game that Amazon has changed that we didn't have back in the other golden age of direct-to-consumer was back in the good old days, people were hesitant about buying something sight unseen.
Yeah.
I want to go to the store and touch, see, feel, hold it.
Right. How many people buying clothes never tried it on? It's like that's something that you'd never even fathom, 20 years ago.
That resistance has considerably broke down now. There are still a majority of people that want to touch, see, feel, and hold, but there's way more people today that are happy to say, yeah, $30, I'll throw $30 out. Let's see what I get.
Right.
Or $50 for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on what it is. Yeah.
So they're not as afraid of buying sight unseen today. Now, let's look at another confluence of technology. And that is watching television with a cell phone in your hand. Over half of America watches television with a cell phone in their hand.
Absolutely.
The number one behavior that you do with that cell phone is...
Oh, wow. Oh, God, who's that actor's name? I feel like I saw them in something else.
Exactly. You sit there with your wife and you say, what else have we seen this person in?
I think that's so-and-so. No, I don't think that is so-and-so. No, I'm going to look it up. Yep.
And then you type in the name, it's like, oh, he was the actor in X.
Yep.
So that's the number one thing you do with your phone.
Yeah.
The number two thing you do with your phone is you look at items that are actually being sold in the ads, or you look at items that have product placement in the show you're watching.
Yeah.
That's the number two thing you do. And 20% of people who watch TV with their phone buy things while they're watching TV. Now, what did we say earlier? 20% of retail is digital. The beauty of being on that big screen is you're talking to the other 80%.
Okay.
Now, here's where this comes along. When we want to get a product into big box retail, We have to sell a ton of product. We have to convince the buyer that we're going to make more money than some other item in that category.
Yep.
Because remember, let's say there's 40 items on the shelf in your category.
Right.
They're not making room for 41. One of the current 40 has to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to convince them, I can make more money than these 3 items. You could get rid of any one of these 3 items and we can beat it.
Right. You have to mitigate their risk.
So keep in mind that that buyer already knows what those 3 items can make him or her. Yeah. He does not know what your item can make. So you are the risk.
Yeah.
Saying no is the safe answer.
Yes.
Plus, I just created another vendor, which the company is not in favor of.
Right. It's more work. It's another relationship I have to have.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada.
So I need to justify why I'm creating another vendor.
Yeah.
So we have to convince them that something is going to happen. So what we have to do, if we're not doing direct-to-consumer advertising, we have to go in, look at this Amazon business we have, look at this online business, look at what we're doing in social media. And Walmart, when we get in your store in March, in April, we're launching a $5 million ad campaign to support you.
Right.
And I'm going to have to launch that $5 million ad campaign before any money comes in on sales. I'm going to have to launch that campaign. If you think you're going to go to retail and the retailer is just going to let you sit on the shelf and you're not spending a lot of money, you are not dealing with reality.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We've talked about this before. Brands need to understand that in this instance, Walmart, right? Walmart doesn't need you. They don't need you. You need Walmart. It's your responsibility to make that a successful relationship and realize that in most cases, you're not going to get any help from Walmart to do that. It's on you, right? It is up to you to make that work.
Right. And there are 148,000 different SKUs in a Walmart supercenter.
Yes, and the average shopping trip.
Special.
The average shopping trip is about 20 items.
And I'm not going to go through and read the label on all 148,000 of them.
I don't have time for that.
So if you think that, well, once I get on the shelf, people will see my packaging and buy me, yeah, a few people will.
Sure, it's going to happen.
But not remotely enough for you to not get kicked out.
Nope.
So you have to spend big. Now, here's the game. The game is this, Justin. If we have a CPG product that sits close to the top of the funnel,
mm-hmm.
And when I say the top of the funnel, what I'm referring to is think of Walmart as a big funnel.
Okay.
At the very top of this funnel is Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Further down the funnel is Home Depot.
Okay.
Further down the funnel is Sephora.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So the top of the funnel is Walmart. That's everybody in America.
Right, that's mass. Yeah.
So I'm looking to basically anybody, the majority of America can find a use for my product.
Yeah.
Home Depot, we're going to go a little further down the funnel. My product is a new dripless paint roller. Okay, not everybody in America is painting their house today.
Right.
So I'm a little more specialized. So now I need to go to a retailer where the odds of someone painting and showing up in that retailer makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Now I get even further down the chain and I'm selling a $90 cologne. Okay. The market for $90 cologne is limited.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to want to be in Sephora or Perfumania or a specialty store.
Yeah.
So if your product fits toward the upper end of that funnel or even the middle of that funnel, then we can make it work in television. And we use digital to support it. So don't think there's not a digital component to this because that's how we drive frequency. But here's the game. The game is simply this. In our business, there are monthly reports that we all get.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're referred to as the Whitney Green Sheets. And in these reports, These reports show the 100 most viewed consumer product and the 100 most consumed consumer service.
Okay.
So we pull this report and it'll have Total Gym and My Pillow,
Right.
and all of these things will be on there. Now, they can't measure how many you sold because you're not telling them how many you sold.
Measure how much money you're spending.
So they measure how much money you spent because that data is available. So that list of 100 is based on who's the top sellers. Now, there's a reason that matters. The reason it matters is because a company could go and just spend like drunken sailors for a month and get themselves on the list.
Yeah.
But the reality that you're going to spend losing tons of money in month 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 isn't very likely.
Yeah.
So now what we do is the goal is, this sounds crazy, but follow with me. The goal in this new model is to spend as much money as humanly possible while breaking even or above.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's say we have a $25 item and our cost on our $25 item is $4. And it's going to cost us another $4 to pick it, pack it, and ship it. Okay? So we're $8 into this item. We're getting $25 for it. We're going to pay some credit card fees, whatever the case is. This is when people are buying on our site.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal is, so let's say that it's $25. So the goal is, let's try to not spend more than $12 to $15 on media.
Right.
So that means if I buy a TV commercial for $1,500, I need to sell 100 to 115 items on that commercial to get to my what we call an MER, media efficiency ratio. So in other words, for every dollar I gave Fox News, how much money came back?
Right.
When the creative is done right, when the product is right, when the media is bought right, and I want you to think of this as a big slot machine at the casino, and you got, 6 wheels, and they all need to come up, cherries. But when all the cherries come up, we're hitting an MER of 1.7 to 1.8, and I've had better, but I prefer to say 1.7 to 1.8 because it's more average.
Right.
It's more of a goal target. So I spent $100, $180 came in. So the goal here, folks, is how many dollars can I turn and break even or make a little bit of money? Now, we have to keep in mind, and Justin, you know this, for every one I sell, I'm still going to sell another one plus over at Amazon.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm still going to pay Amazon their fee.
Yep.
So Amazon's still getting their juice out of it. But the good news is I don't need to spend a lot of money in Amazon's advertising ecosystem, because now this is the case where people go to Amazon and type the name of the product because I'm watching it on TV.
Now you're the destination.
Right. So I'm not going to Amazon and saying pillows. I'm going to Amazon and saying My Pillow.
Right.
And our friend and now colleague and client we're working with, Mike Lindell, will tell you that, every time he sells one on mystore.com, he sells another one on Amazon. So the goal is, how do we spend as much money as possible on media? Now, I want people to not panic when I say, how can we spend as much money as possible? Here's the game. The game is we do test media. We produce TV commercials, and then we do test flights. Mm-hmm. And the test flights were, let's buy this network on Monday, and this network on Tuesday, and this network in the morning, and this network on Saturday night. And we're scattering around, and we're looking for hot spots. And we're also testing different pieces of creative. One piece of creative might have 2 payments of $24.95. Another one has buy now and get free shipping or get 2 for the price of 1.
Right.
Whatever it is we're doing, we're testing these different offers to see what connects. And then we figure out what works. We go dark. We do another test. We look for the anomalies, look to confirm our beliefs. We may be ready to go. We may have to do a third test. So typically we go through 3 rounds of this. Now, again, I've had products where we put them on the air and on day 1, they were just home runs.
Sure.
So they could still be optimized, but we optimized them while on air. We didn't take them off air to look at analyzing because it's like, we're already making money.
Right. There's no reason to stop.
Right. We can make more money, but why would we not make money today and figure out how to make more money next week?
Right.
So, and that's the case, then that's the case. The goal here is you have to have great media buyers, and the media buyer learns to figure out, okay, so product X needs to have, let's say we realize that our maximum dollars per sale is $12.
Right.
We can't spend more than $12. And we start to figure out, okay, so when we buy Fox News, Fox and Friends in the morning, and we pay X for the spot, we get an $11 sale or a $12 sale. Mm-hmm. What this means is your media agency has to continue to negotiate against those rates and has to have the discipline, and you, the client, have to have the discipline to say no on the days where that media is too expensive.
Yep.
Because in this world, we're buying the media by the day. So let's say that there's a $7,000 commercial that makes you money. Then we're going to go back to that network and we're going to say, we want 10 of these $7,000 commercials. And they're going to come back and say, yeah, but we have other advertisers who have already bid $8,000 for 6 of them. Then I need to say, I'll take the other 4.
Right.
And next week we'll talk and see if you have more of them. Mm-hmm. Now, why did somebody else offer 8,000? Because their efficiency is different.
Exactly.
They may have a product that's selling a little more volume. They may have a product that has a higher dollar ring and a bigger margin. So we all have to find where our number is, mm-hmm. and then we have to stick to it. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of work because we have to hit all these networks every day. What can I buy that my client can afford?
Right.
The goal here is to spend as much money as possible. I keep saying that. Here's why. 1, the more money I can spend that is profitable, that is break even and above, the more product you're flipping. Mm-hmm. 2, the more television I can buy that is profitable for you, the bigger your brand is becoming in the eyes of America. Mm-hmm. Just think My Pillow on Fox News.
Sure.
There is no one who's ever watched Fox News who does not know who Mike Lindell is.
Right. Right.
Keep in mind, every time you see Mike Lindell on Fox News, he broke even or better. Mm-hmm. The third reason is those green sheets that we talked about. Now, this is the game that we play with the retailer.
Okay.
The buyer, being human, has fear of missing out. Our broker team now goes to those buyers. Walmart, Target, Kroger, Walgreens goes to the buyers and says, and in many cases doesn't even need to go to the buyer because the buyer gets the sheets every month, mm-hmm. and says, hey, look at my Wonder widget. We're number 72 this week, or this month in America.
Right.
Now, here's the beauty of it. That retailer already has products in the stores that's number 90 and number 100. So remember, we're trying to convince him that we're going to outsell other things in his store. Now we have the proof we're going to outsell other things in his store.
at the very least, you have the proof that you can spend.
Right. And the buyer knows I'm not spending if I'm not selling.
Right. So at the very least, this is not another situation where I've got a brand coming in here and telling me I'm going to go make miracles happen, and they haven't yet, but they're trying to sell me something so that I'll take them in. There's literal proof that no, they're spending. They are spending right now, and if they're spending this way for this long, there's no reason for them to stop.
So I'm the buyer and I'm saying, okay, this brand is number 80. This brand is already outselling 20 items in my store.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know the exact dollar number, but I know there's no way in hell they can be number 80 on this list if they're not profitable or at least breaking even, because nobody can spend that kind of money.
Right. And we talked about this in one of our last shows too. Remember, because bringing it back around your point that buyers are human, remember that they are human. And these are also humans just like you and I who are used to getting lied to by salesmen. And they experience more salesmen than we do on a daily basis. How many times do you have someone come up to your door that wants to sell you new phone service and you're like, I'm over this conversation already? That's their life every single day.
But the green sheets don't lie. This is
exactly.
fact.
Exactly. That's the difference. That's facts. There's no lying going on here.
You're number 80 out of 100 of the top selling television products in America.
Right. Exactly.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you here and say we're not going to tell the brokers to run to Walmart because you made the list in month 1.
No. You've got to have some consistency.
We're going to need you to be on that list for 3 or 4 months.
Yes. You've got to have some consistency.
Because that broker needs to go in and say, check this out. We've been number 80 for 90 days.
Right. And we're not slowing down.
For the past 3 months, we've outsold 20 other items in your store.
Yeah.
Now, you're the buyer. So the buyer's looking at 2 things now. 1, I need to take advantage of this trend.
Mm-hmm.
I want to jump on this hot item. 2, I don't want my boss to say, how come Walmart has My Pillow and we don't?
Right.
Okay. Number 3, because it's a hot item, I may not wait until my planogram resets to bring it in.
So talk more about that, because I mean, we've had a lot of shows, we've educated a lot to say, hey, retail is rigid, right? That there's only certain times things can happen. So now all of a sudden there seems to be flexibility. What are you talking about here?
Here's the reason. So as we know, all the major retailers have a planogram. Mm-hmm. Planogram resets once per year, and there is a 6-month adjustment. At the 6-month adjustment, nobody changes more than 5% of their mix. So at the if you've got 40 items on the shelf, then I might take 3 or 4 of the worst ones out and try 3 or 4 new ones. That's it. That's the max.
Because if they're already dogs, what do I got to lose?
Yep. I already determined these things are dying.
Yeah.
Now, so whenever that planogram is, that's when you go in. It doesn't matter when you want to sell it. I'm not redesigning Walmart to accommodate you. But in the world of direct response, there's a separate category in direct response, which is literally called direct response.
A separate category in direct response called direct response?
In retail called direct response. Okay. So in retail, all these retailers have a separate buyer that is there to take advantage of the hottest direct-to-consumer products.
Yes. We've all seen that set. We don't notice it, but we've all seen it.
So you've all seen an end cap that says "as seen on TV."
Yeah.
Okay, that end cap doesn't have a planogram. Mm-hmm. That end cap resets every month because it resets every month based on what's on those sheets.
Mm-hmm.
What is on that green sheet? We need it on that end cap. Because it's an opportunity sale.
Okay.
So what we tend to do in this case is we tend to talk to a direct response buyer and a category buyer.
Mm. So
So go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, the game here, Justin, is I want to get in that end cap if it's appropriate, but ultimately I want to be in the fixed set.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What are the risks of possibly taking this route? Number one. And just, well, I'll say the risk of the short term. So we'll say the short term, right? And then what are the risks of the long term? Is there any chance that I couldn't get to that set?
No, the beauty of it is the category captain or the category buyer for your category takes precedent over the direct consumer buyer.
Okay, so this could be a scenario where you're making so much money for the direct consumer buyer, they're saying, "I'm not letting this go. Oh, you're crazy."
So let's look at the product OxyClean.
Mm-hmm.
OxyClean came in, it went into the planogram or went into the As Seen on TV product, but eventually the home cleaning products buyer brought it in and put it on the fixed set.
Okay.
So the category buyer can reach in to the DRTV buyer's shelf
Okay.
and pull it over to the category.
Okay. Copperfit, I think, did the same thing, right?
Copperfit, very good
Yeah.
example. And the reason is because ultimately what's in the best interest for the retailer is long-term products.
Right.
So the long-term buyer always gets the precedent if the long-term buyer wants it.
Okay.
So we basically talk to two buyers. We say, okay, DR buyer, we're number 80. Do you want to bring us in? Category buyer, we're number 80. Do you want to bring us in?
Mm-hmm.
So remember, we only had one person in a normal scenario. We only have one person to convince. Now we have two bites at this apple.
Interesting.
We got two different people we can pitch now.
Interesting.
Because the DR guy, the category buyer might say, I think it's a fad, but the DR guy goes, yeah, but you're number 80, so I'm going to put you on the shelf.
Right. Right.
And if
So I
I'm
guess-
on the shelf and I'm selling 5 pieces a week, guess what? The category buyer's pulling me over.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So I guess what would be the reason for a brand where they would not want to go this route?
Don't have the finances.
Okay.
They don't have the commitment. They don't believe in their product enough to take that level of risk because this is a risk.
Okay. So when you say finances, is that related to A, keeping up the spend, B, being able to carry any of the receivables for now having to ship to Walmart because you do have to do that now, and there is still a receivable that you're carrying because you're going to be paying on scan. Mm-hmm. Is that essentially what you're talking about from a financial perspective?
More of I'm selling on my website, I'm selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
And now I want to make the jump into the big world of television and retail.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if we're going to make a great set of TV commercials, because we can't put garbage on TV.
No.
But, and let me stop here for a second. There are 5 brands that have launched digitally only and made it to retail.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those 5 brands were on the Super Bowl this month.
Yeah.
They still had to jump over.
Right. Right.
So the reality is this is the road. Now, think about how many brands that you know that have launched digitally that are all TV brands, including Amazon itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazon spends more money on TV than any other place.
Well, if you want mass volume, you need to leverage mass reach mediums. It's basic math.
I mean, can you buy Harry's Shave now at Walmart and Target?
Yeah.
Where did they launch?
Absolutely.
TV.
Right.
Dollar Shave Club, Madison Reed. I mean, we can go item by item by item.
Absolutely.
My Pillow, OxyClean, Copperfit.
Mm-hmm.
We can just keep going down the list. These are all products that started on television.
Absolutely. Again, mass reach is the key to mass volume.
But here's the downside. If you're going to produce really winning TV commercials, and here's the thing I need people to understand, this is not a world where you can decide to be a little bit pregnant. So this is not a world where you can say, well, let's just do some really cheap schlocky commercials, and if they work, we'll spend more. No, because the really cheap schlocky commercials will
Don't
have
work.
zero outcome.
Yeah, it won't work. You're going to light money on fire.
So now you have zero results.
Yeah.
And you say, well, television failed. No, you failed. Television didn't fail.
Yeah. Right.
So you have to put a good product on TV. First off, you have to have a good product. Second thing, you have to present it in a national looking format.
Yeah.
So you're going to spend $50,000 to $100,000 or more to do that.
Yeah, or more.
Maybe you want to have a celebrity. You're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have a landing page for these people to go with. You're going to have some digital support to help build some frequency on that TV. Okay? So that's out-of-pocket money. And now we talked about those 3 television test markets.
Yeah.
Each one of those test markets is going to be anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. We're going to go out and we're going to buy $20,000 to $40,000 worth of television media.
Yeah, or more.
Now, that's not a zero-sum game.
No.
Money came back in.
Right.
But the odds that it was perfect and every spot we bought was exactly the right spot isn't very good. So we may have spent $40,000 and only $40,000 came back.
Yeah.
So we lost a little bit of money because we had to ship product.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be able to, if you're going to take this route from the start, right, to launch it, you've got to say to yourself, all right, I'm going to invest $300,000, and from a revenue perspective, I'm probably going to get somewhere back around, let's say it's $250.
Yeah, and I would say I'm going to spend $200 to $300, depending on what I'm selling. Let's say $200 to $300. But here's the thing. You've got to take that, let's call it $250,000. You got to take that $250,000 and you've got to go up to the roulette table and you have to put it on number 17 and go spin the wheel. Now in roulette, your odds of winning is 1 out of 38.
Right.
Oddly enough, Justin, in the world of direct response television, about 1 out of every 20 to 25 direct campaigns work.
Okay.
Not much different, is it?
Yeah, it's very similar.
But if you have the right partners, then your odds go up considerably. Our odds are always anywhere from 90 to 100%. That's our success rate. Now, why is our success rate that high? I think there's a number of reasons, but I'm going to give you the 2 major ones. The 2 major ones is we know how to do it, and we've done it hundreds of times. The second one is we won't take you as a client if we don't think it'll work.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why our batting average is so good, because we don't take swings at things we don't think we can hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because 1, it hurts our ratio, and 2, as an agency, we don't make any money testing you on media. We don't make any money until you become successful.
Yeah, it doesn't benefit us in any way, shape, or form.
Right. So it makes no sense for us to get involved in you're going to spend $250,000 and then go away.
Yeah, no, not at all.
It's that long-term, week after week spend that we need to make happen. You look at Mike Lindell. Mike has spent $1 million a week on TV.
Yeah.
But that's not to be feared because 1.8 million came back.
Right, that's the opportunity.
Right. But who hasn't heard of the product? Who hasn't heard of Copper Fit?
Right.
Who hasn't heard of Tommy Copper?
Right.
Who hasn't heard of Harry's Shave, Dollar Shave Club? I mean, it goes on and on and on. These are where these brands come from. This is, if you came to me and you said, I want the most surefire, guaranteed way to get my product into major retail for the first time, if I can look at your product and see that your product is unique, your product is demonstrable, your product solves an easy to identify problem, and your product appears to be a value, meaning your offer is bigger than your ask, which means, wow, that's I don't think, for $20, that's a bargain.
Right.
I'd risk $20 on that or $50 on that. So your offer needs to be bigger than your ask.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're at that upper end of the funnel, if we're going after mass, or you're in the middle part of the funnel, if we're going after more specialty, as long as you meet that criteria, then there's a good chance we can make that work.
Mm-hmm.
Then lastly, I'm going to leave it with you on this. You've been doing this, you're out, you're 120 days, 180 days into selling. Now we start to bring you into retail. And by the way, we don't want to bring you into retail too soon because we want to keep you out there for a while because you're building this enormous brand without spending money on advertising.
Right. Right.
You're flipping these dollars at no cost. So we want you to get that brand built up. So in retail, just so you know, the buyer knows for every one that you can sell on TV, he can sell 10.
Right.
So when Walmart looks at this and says, good Lord, these people are selling, 35,000 pieces a month, that Walmart buyer knows that he can probably sell 250,000 of these things a month. Because there's still more people, remember that 80-20, there's still more people who want to touch, see, feel, hold
Mm-hmm.
before they buy it. And the retailer knows that. But if somebody comes to me and says, what's the surefire way? This is the surefire way. Now, after we've had you out there, we've been running these 60s and these 120s. And now Walmart and Target says we're bringing you in. As Walmart and Target brings you in, we completely get rid of the 120s.
Mm-hmm.
We're now cut down to 60s. We're running 60s where, go to productx.com or find it at Walmart, Target, and Walgreens.
Right.
Okay. As those consumers start to migrate over to brick and mortar, now we take that 60 and we cut that 60 down to a 30 because we no longer need to pitch the price and the offer.
Right.
So no longer do we have a price in the ad. No longer are we saying, but wait, there's more. Buy now. We're going to do this. All that goes away. We just show the problem solution. Here's who we are. Now keep in mind, I'm a brand now.
Right.
I'm My Pillow. So I've already overcome one of the 4 roadblocks to sales. In every sale, I have to get you to recognize who I am. I need you to recognize that there is an issue that you have. I need you to recognize that I have the solution to the issue you have. And I need you to trust me. Well, now that I've been on TV for 6 months, touting Tommy Copper, My Pillow, you already know who I am. We've already resolved that. I've already established trust with you because I'm a big brand on TV. So now all I have to do is trigger I really do need my ears cleaned. Our product, Wax RX. I really do need to deal with that. And they got it at Walmart. So I think I'll go to Walmart and get it. So we've resolved a lot of those issues. So we don't need 60s and 120s to do it. We just need the 30s to do it now.
You're getting a lot more media for your money at that point.
And now we're getting a lot more frequency and a lot more media. And our ad campaign now becomes a retail campaign. But unlike the scenario we talked about at the beginning, which is I'm going to go into Walmart in March and in April I'm going to start spending $1 million. I hit Walmart running.
Right.
I'm selling multiple pieces per store per week the day I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have a cash flow ramp up anymore.
No.
And then you brought up the question about cash for the retailers. The good news is to keep in mind that once you do retail, receivables from Target and Walmart and Walgreens and so on and so forth are bankable receivables.
Mm.
So it's easy to go to the bank and banks will loan you 70 to 80% of the receivable.
Okay. Because they know that those places are going to pay.
We know Walmart's going to pay the bill.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to go to the bank and I have $1 million purchase order here from Walmart and the bank will say, okay, we'll advance $700,000 on it.
Right.
So you can borrow enough money to carry the receivables all day long.
Okay.
That's not the challenge.
Okay.
But as you know, we'll kind of help people learn that along the way
Yeah.
and help them build those relationships so that when they get there, they have a bank and they're ready to do that. But this is kind of where I wanted to wrap up on this, Justin. I wanted people to understand it is harder than ever to get into retail.
Mm-hmm.
There is a whole new golden age of direct to consumer because consumers are far more comfortable making a purchase without a store now.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can trigger the stores to bring in a product when we go out and prove we're outselling the other items they have in the store now.
Mm-hmm.
And television is the solution. By the way, you can go and show them that you're outselling them on Amazon. They won't care.
No, it's a different sale.
Right, because they know you're not a brand.
Right.
They know you're outselling on Amazon because you're spending a fortune on Amazon Amazon advertising, but Amazon advertising doesn't help Walmart.
Well, and that's the thing. And I think and that's a great point, because I believe enough of these retail buyers now have been burned by the Amazon brands that no longer mean something to them.
Absolutely.
More brands fail and buyers lose their jobs because brands don't come in with an effective advertising and marketing campaign that drives sell-through at shelf. So they've already fallen to oh, wow, you're doing these Amazon numbers. You must know marketing. Great, let's do this. Nope.
The poster child for this is a product called Penetrex.
Oh, yeah.
A 4-ounce jar of topical analgesic, like a Bengay or whatever the case is. Penetrex killed it on Amazon. #1 topical analgesic on Amazon. They have suffered, floundered, and been a train wreck in retail because they never did retail advertising. Everybody assumed, well, they're doing $6 million on Amazon. They've got to be able to kill it in Walmart. No, because nobody in Walmart knows who they are, because if I knew who they were, I'm not shopping for it in Walmart.
I'll say brands as a whole, the biggest mistake that they make, especially now that we see, is that they assume the customer journey for retail is the same as a customer journey for e-commerce, and it's just not true.
Correct. But if your goal is you've got a product and you're doing well on your website and you're doing well on Amazon, and you decide you want to be a part of the 80% world, not part of the 20% world, we just gave you your roadmap. And in most cases, there's always an exception,
Of course.
but in most cases, there's not a plan B. So you're not going to be a little bit pregnant. You're not going to work your way into Walmart. This is how you get in Walmart. Oh, one other thing I'm going to throw in here. Walmart and a lot of these big retailers have a tendency to stick their toe in the water with a brand, and they'll say, well, we'll give you 200 stores. Let's try a 200 store test.
Oh, yeah.
That is almost the recipe for failure.
Never works.
Because you can't afford to advertise 200 stores.
No.
And they're scattered all over the country, and you can't even zone it out. It's a disaster.
Right. And that's if you can even get a list of where the stores are located. Most of the time you can't.
When you go in through the DR door, it's always a chain-wide deal.
Yeah, that's good.
It's always chain-wide because remember, the store no longer needs to see if you can sell.
Right.
You're already outselling 10, 20, 30 items they have now. You have the proof in your hand.
Right.
The store's goal now is how fast can I get you on the shelf while you're still hot?
Right. How can I take advantage of this?
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll even give you idiot items who have done this. Remember the big mouth talking bass?
Yeah.
What was it called? Billy Big Mouth Bass.
Yeah. I think my grandpa had one.
So it was the bass that hung on a wooden plaque, and you walked by it, and the bass could sing or talk. How did it get in retail? It started on TV. And then every retailer in the country brought it in for a Christmas item.
Yeah.
And it was a gimmick.
Yeah.
And it only had a couple of years. But it still took the same path.
Right. And made great money.
Right. Now Harry's Shave, they're a staple.
Yep.
But they started in DR.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wants to learn more about this, you can reach out to us. You can find us at cpginsiders.com. You can find us at jekyllhydelabs.com. But this is the story, and I'm going to tell you why I did this. I was at a meeting, and I was with my friend Joe Polish, and Joe introduced me to somebody who wanted to get into retail. And literally at a cocktail party, I started explaining this, and Joe looked at me and he goes, "Holy crap." He goes, "That was a master class on how to get into retail." And he said, "Have you ever done that on your podcast?" I'm like, "I don't know that we have."
No.
He's like, you need to do that. He goes, "That was amazing." So that's why we did it.
All right. If Joe says to do it, I say let's do it.
As always, if you like today's podcast, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. If you're not subscribed, press the subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode. And also, we send out a lot of email information, a lot of newsletters and email. So if you go to the website and you send us an email, we'll add you to the email list so that you can get on the email list and you'll get lots of white papers and stuff that we send out.
Yeah, it's a great note.
That's it for today. Anything else for you, Justin?
No, sir. No, sir. It was great.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of CPG Insiders. If you're looking to greatly increase sales on your CPG product, don't hesitate to contact us at Jekyll & Hyde Advertising and Marketing. By the way, the only advertising agency with a guaranteed result. Just go to jekyllhydeagency.com or feel free to give us a call at 800-500-4210.